It's good to see you all in the second talk of the second day of the CARE conference. We have Ajdin Arnautovic with us. Ajdin is Executive Director of Vegan Association of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And in today's talk, he'll talk a bit about how to avoid pitfalls in strengthening vegan organizations in developing countries. He works in the Balkan region, where the idea of like vegan associations and animal rights organizations is a relatively new thing. And because of these countries, like Bosnia and Herzegovina and other countries in Balkans are mostly not a part of the European Union. So it's more complicated, and it's a more complex process of like getting funding, and there's much more obstacles to meet. And Ajdin today will tell us more about how to develop organization and how to avoid the pitfalls. So Ajdin, the scene is yours. Have fun.
Sure.
And after the talk, there will be of course Q&A session. So if you have any questions, ask them in the question panel on inventory. And Ajdin is also available for networking after his speech. So we will post a Zoom link for you to join if you will like to after the call. There you go, Ajdin.
Okay, sure. Let me just share my presentation. Can you see it now?
Not yet, but we'll just you shared the screen using the button on the bottom, the green one.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you just try again?
Okay, let me try again.
Yeah, it's opened in the.
Okay, can you see
now
it
it's here. Now it's here. So
okay,
yeah,
cool. Because this is a new Mac, so I'm trying to figure out this out. It's a technical thing. So hi everyone. Thank you for introduction, Lucas. So yeah, my name is Ajdin Arnautovic. I'm the executive director of VivaBiH. It is a first animal liberation and vegan organization in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Firstly, I must say it is a great honor and pleasure to be able to talk in such a place where there's so many animal rights activists, and for me to be able to address such relevant topics. Also, I have to say it's my first time being in a CARE conference, like as a speaker, so I'm a bit more excited about all of this. And I also have to say that this presentation might not be super interesting to someone who is like very long in this animal rights movement, because this presentation is mostly going to be focused on someone who want to start an organization, who is like a beginner in this movement, and particularly those in the developing countries. Yeah, as Lucas said, being a vegan is still kind of new thing. So short introduction. As you know, Bosnia and Herzegovina is this heart-shaped like country in Europe, and I come from a country that was recently known for a war, genocide, and a lot of destructions. And I, as someone who is a young activist, decided to stay here to have impact on this in this animal rights movement, which I believe that we all present here with our awareness and energy and knowledge fight for. So as you know, Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, has this kind of continental climate. And in the last few years, it is common to see white seagulls, above the sky in Sarajevo. And we are clearly going through a massive climate changes. And this is one of the proof that I can see in my country. And I'm so happy to be part of the most effective movement that tackles actually this climate issue. So as maybe some of you already know, 70% of today's vegans were previously vegetarians. I fall on this second category, where I went straightly into vegan. I went vegan in December of 2018, so I'm relatively fresh in this movement, even though I went straightly into activism since I became vegan, so I pretty know kind of a lot of stuffs. My involvement before animal rights movement were mostly human rights, particularly women rights and LGBTIQ issues. I was one of the co-organizers of the second Bosnian Pride March, and I'm very passionate about philanthropy and particularly animal liberation advocacy, as that is my main focus today. So despite being I will just go shortly about our organization. Despite being a small organization, I would still say that we are very vocal because of our unique status. Almost every day we have some kind of calls from people who keep calling us regarding plant-based food or interview or something, and it's kind of interesting to see that such a small organization is so popular here. And for those of you who are interested, you can search about what we are doing on our website, but we do a lot of stuff from public awareness campaigns to institutional campaigns, including vegan fairs, billboards, veganizing restaurants, movie screening, researches, video campaigns, webinars, street activities, and so on. Now, I would like to say just a couple of few things, and you will see why is this important for this topic. Oops. Okay, so this is one of the first campaigns we actually started doing. It is our first anti-dairy campaign in Bosnia, also the first outdoor campaign that tackles farmed animals in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And even though this campaign wasn't really like that expensive, around $4,000, it was so massive and that much that one local dairy industry, national industry, in Bosnia wanted to sue us. And the reason why I'm mentioning is to show that we are not only a first organization here that tackles those issues, but also a pioneer in this field in Bosnia. And I know over at least 10 people who were actively engaged in activism, and they have just moved away from it very fast, from a couple of weeks to 2 years. Even our previous management has completely moved away from activism. People here are just so much fed with anger and stress, and although many had a good start and potential to make a good impact, some crucial things have happened and many also failed. And this is why I want to talk about what I have seen that has happened. Now, everything that I'm going to present is something that I have found myself effective. And I'm not saying it does have to be 100% for every other nonprofit, but once I have applied it, it helped us a lot in our organization. As Luca said, vegan activism in Balkan, we all know that it's not equally easy to be vegan in Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, and for example, Sweden, Netherlands, or Germany, or any other developed country. And as you probably all know, Balkan countries are low income and traditional countries that are known to be a place where people eat a lot of meat. Recently, I had one friend from Couchsurfing, and I asked him, "What do you think about Bosnia?" He's not even vegan or vegetarian or even a pescatarian, and all he knew is that there's a lot of meat culture here. So yeah. Now, I would like to explain why one of the reasons why I have used this symbol is because I think in this movement and generally social justice movements, we weigh between passion for something and patience for something that we really care about and patience in each situation. You can feel sometimes that you are lonely in this movement, but I'd like to say that use your passion very wisely, and don't forget that liberation, regardless is it for human animals or non-human animals actually takes time. Now you will see why. I'll come back to this later a bit in this principle. I would also like to mention that I believe that a lot of us have this kind of abolitionist ideology within the veganism here, but regardless, are we doing welfare campaigns or no, but stick to abolition, but also have a very pragmatic approach. Because your moral consistency is very important. We all agree upon that. But so is the picture you give to others, especially if you're some sort of representative of a vegan in your country. Unfortunately, it took me a lot of time to understand this, but this is worth every penny. For example, if you have a point of view that you're not going to eat with meat eaters under every cost, that is going to be destructive, at least in developing countries where people still don't understand the idea of veganism. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that under every cost, but if you're going, for example, with your friends, don't do that usually. Now, if you think about starting a vegan organization or any animal liberation organization that tackles farmed animal issues, there are a couple of things that you should focus on that I think are really good thing. You should be some sort of a resource library and have everything written. This is something that now all those things that I mentioned are pretty familiar with all of you, but those are the things that people usually fail somehow in start when they are starting in this movement. You should have a lot of resources. When someone want to join your team, you have to offer them something. Now you should also focus on one or two additional people who share your passion initially, because you might not have a lot of funding, you might not have a lot of knowledge, but the passion is something that might connect you with someone else. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people. I know a lot of people in the start, they know that they have to build team, but they don't know how to do that. And so it's not about building a lot of people initially. You just have to find one or two additional people that will help you and to share your passion. There are also some very awesome free trainings that might help you in start, that helped me actually, that I wish I kind of knew before. For example, the ProVeg has a lot of free trainings, including Nonprofit Management Accelerator. Beyond Carnism has a lot of trainings also. So there's a lot of trainings that might help you how to conduct campaigns. Improve your organizing skills. This is also very important, because I know this is kind of like really obvious thing, but if the word organization tells itself, right? If you want to be the part of organization, especially if you want to be in this kind of in the board member or executive or someone who leads, who has a leading role in your organization, you really have to improve your organizing skills, because even in developed countries, there is a lot of things you kind of have to do if you're like a organization. So yeah. Also, never forget that not everyone has the same passion as you do. Now, this is something that I did understand, but I didn't really care in start, which I regret, to be honest. But I'm glad that I have learned it now. You know, when you become vegan and you want to do animal rights activism, you're very passionate about the cause, but you should understand that not everyone has this kind of a knowledge or this kind of a passion or even understanding of what you're doing or what you fight for. So you should try to keep that, try to understand that, even for the people you're outreaching, and let alone the people you are with in your organization. So don't don't push too much people. So yeah, as I said, passion is important, but so is the patience. I know people who actually, because we, for example, we started being very active in 2020 since our complete management changed, and we did a lot of things in 2021, but still, you know, we kind of rushed a bit. And that was because I was like, we have to do this, we have to find this grant, all the possible grants we have. And I was like, just idealist. But that sometimes isn't really good for the people, because your activists, your volunteers, or even employees, they think like, oh, this is too much for us. Now, you might be lucky enough to find someone who is very passionate about animal rights, like you are, but usually that's not the case. You have to offer something in your organization, as I said previously. Now, this is you. And those, as you can see, those are some of the things that, in my opinion, are the things, like the basic things you should offer to anybody who want to join your organization, especially if they want to be the part of leadership. So, of course, there's a safe environment, formally to have anti-discriminatory policies to make people feel safe in your environment so that they can be who they want, so in order for them to reach a full potential, right? I don't think I have to explain this more. Now, there is also a financial support. I know that this might be really hard, especially for organizations that are starting. And I'd like to say that, for example, in Bosnia, the salary tax is really huge. It is 70%. So if, for example, if I want to give a salary of net $1,000 to someone, I'll have to add additional $700 to the state, right? So it's a really huge. I think the only Sweden in the whole Europe, only Sweden has the bigger this salary tax. So in my opinion, I would suggest this, but I know a lot of organizations, like for example, animal charity leaders and probably much more professional organization wouldn't suggest this, which I understand because they have bigger funding and they live in a developed country, I would say. So Yeah, of course, it's better to be registered as a full-time employee, but sometimes if you have a very restricted budget, like if you even very, very low budget, only to cover some basic things, it's better to have a work contract, because people, like everyone else, they love to be paid for what they do, regardless how much passionate they are about the cause. Now, you also have to give them opportunity to grow, but also to fail and learn. Now, I'm not saying that you should tolerate every single time when they fail, but you shouldn't really be too harsh. If you can say, well done, you have this really great, say it. But if you can avoid criticism, try to avoid it and say it in a nice manner. So I think that talking with your employees or activists is really important. So now, I think maybe this is the most important thing, the resources. You should give the resources to people who join your organization or even to volunteers. So you should have this kind of like a resource library for them. If they want to do institutional campaigns, you should kind of give them proper education, how to conduct and do effective institutional campaigns, or if they want to do corporate campaign, corporate welfare work, or if they want to do public awareness campaigns, or I don't know, policy and legislative work, whatever. So you should focus on that so that they can know what they do. Of course, they can have some freedom in doing some projects, but then again, they shouldn't be they shouldn't like not to know what to do in organization, right? Which is why I said have everything written, like to whom they report, when they come, how much they do, and so on. Now, this is some of the things that you should already have if you plan to start your organization, or if you already are thinking about it, or even if you have organization. I think this is really good to know. So you have to have this kind of some kind of a draft of the programs. So what are the programs you're going to do? What is your goal? What is your what do you want to achieve within your organization? So how we in a vegan association of Bosnia, how we actually kind of regulated this is the following. As you can see, we have public awareness campaigns where we do educational campaigns, social campaigns, etc. We have institutional campaigns, which means veganism institutions, restaurants, and so on. We do plan to work on legislative campaigns, which means policy and animal welfare improvement. This is also on a plan, and we plan to start working corporate campaigns. Now, I'm not saying you should have to do all of this, but this is one of how. So you have to have a plan. For example, if you have your team, you have to know what you're going to do. You can just be like, okay, we love animals and let's fight for them. Now, team is very important. So is your network. Now, when it comes to the employees, it's better to have one or two in start than more, because you can focus more on them. You can build the atmosphere and so on. Volunteers are also very important part of the organization. And I think in start, I kind of neglected this in a bit, but they're so important. And yeah, I think people from Otwarte Klatki, they can say that they know much better because they have a lot of volunteers, right? Now, institutional corporate partners are also very important. For example, we feel that today in our organization, we have this one company that works with they have vegan burgers, a lot of vegan food. And so it's really good to have your institutional partner if you want to do some event or movie screening that includes catering or whatever. It's really great to have someone who is going to be your institutional or corporate partner. Donors and supporters, they're very important. I don't have to explain this. And also other organizations. If you collaborate with other organization, it gives your organization a credit. It gives your organization some kind of legit. So your organization is going to look like a legitimate. And now the most important part are the resources. So when it comes to the campaign, you have to know how to conduct effective campaign. And there is so much over internet about it. You can even schedule like one-on-one meeting with people who conduct it professionally. And so this is really important. You have to know that in my organization, we mostly had people who were, for example, um, specified for the street outreach, like street, doing effective outreach with people. And those people, for example, who don't like that, who are more into doing negotiation with restaurants and institutional campaigns. So you have to know who is going to do what, and so that you can focus on them. Like I understand that in a bit, it might be too much for you, especially when you're executive or someone. You have to know all of this and to guide everyone. But yeah, it's just how it goes in start. Later on, you will see someone who's going to do institutional campaigns is going to know much more about it than you do, which is fine. You're not supposed to know everything. Non-financial support is really, really needed, as I said, especially online trainings, webinar courses, and so on. Grants, you should also, there's a lot of, for example, Veg Fund, Animal Safe Movement, they have also been giving some grants. I mean, there's a lot of grants you can find on. And also, as well as the media tools, if you're going to be very active in your social media, you should know that there is a lot of media tools, as well as, for example, photos. There is one page from this We Animals Media. So there are some of the resources you should already have established when you want to start your organization, right? Now, have everything written. This is something that I have seen in a lot of like a newbie organization, if I can call it, that they fail about this, and even we also failed about this in the start. This is especially important when we talk about roles, programs, meeting evaluations, who should do what, when should we meet, who should write about the meetings, when shall we have a team meeting, who reports to who. This is especially useful when you hire a new activist in your organization, so they know all the technical details, or if they're working in a marketing section, they shall know, they shall get things like photos and where to find them, where to post, and so on. So trust me, have everything written. This is really important. And I know maybe this all sounds very basic and boring to people who are very much into this movement. As I have mentioned before, you're probably more passionate about vegan cause and the people you are seeking for your team, but you should always focus more on their good parts and less on their bad parts. They'll be empowering them to do more good stuff for the animals at the end. You want a productive team. And I was kind of, I'm not going to say bossy in the start, but I was very idealistic. I tried people, like when we were writing one project, I tried to look so professional. Every single word had to be in a place. The evaluation had to be perfect, and so many things. And even though like we had zero funding, people were completely voluntarily. So, but yeah, you are a leader, not a boss, and you should praise more and criticize less, because we all know that this movement is very underfunded. Only 1% out of all philanthropic giving is given to the animals. And even within that 1%, less than 1%, I guess, also goes to the farmed animals. So yeah, you should understand that, because this movement is really underfunded. So now I hope that I actually went over. I hope I didn't. So there's also now a short Q&A session for all of you who have been asking the questions. Now I'll stop sharing this.
Okay, thank you, Aydin. Yeah, we have like 4 minutes left, and we have a few questions. I don't know if we'll be able to answer all of them, but let's go with the first one. And the question is, what would you say is the biggest obstacle for you to develop your organization in Bosnia and Herzegovina? Like the one biggest obstacle?
Well, I would say right now is the funding, and maybe some very specified trainings, because if you're, for example, if you're having a human rights organization, it's much easier, because there's a lot of human rights organization here. Even, for example, queer issues are still kind of taboo here, but it's as I have been part of all of that, it's not even hard to do those things, because there's a lot of, for example, a lot of embassies are going to support you. A lot of other organizations that doesn't necessarily fight for the queer issues as a primary cause. So you kind of get the support. But if you're a vegan organization, there's one organization beside us. We are a partner organization now, called EVA, even though they do more of a general thing. They're like a, maybe if we compare each other, I know this sounds very stupid, but I'm gonna say it. They're maybe like a PETA, and we would be like a Mercy for Animals, which means they do more of a general stuff, including fur issues, dogs, while we are mostly specified on the farm animals. But still, we had this really big national campaign recently before Islamic Aid, where we actually started doing campaign with the billboards of a mother sheep, and we have been so bashed and so memed across the country. So basically, people made a campaign, like a contra campaign against us, and so that's the thing. We didn't really have any organization to support us. So I would say, yeah, primarily funding, because, for example, it would be really good if we had a funds to hire someone who is going to work exclusively on the finances, so that we can, for example, I personally, so that I can focus more on the fundraising. And for example, now we have pretty much a lot of resources when it comes to the institutional campaigns. And it would be really great if we had a funding to, for example, hire a person who is going to do exclusively institutional campaigns. Because, program coordinators who are working on a public awareness campaigns can't really do everything. So yeah, I would say that's the primary issue.
Okay.